melt is when I'm ocean wave.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have St. Louis Billikens coach Katie Shields. Her high-flying Billikens just beat Georgetown 2-1 and to get to the Sweet 16. Coach, congratulations. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. It's great to be here chatting with you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's always nice to chat about after a winning game like that. I believe it's the first time St. Louis has been to the Final 16. So congratulations. That's quite an achievement. But let me give your background. You're a 2006 graduate of a little school called Harvard. Coach Nolan told me that he really wanted you to go to Georgetown, but you ended up going to Harvard. So obviously you made a great decision there. You a 4-time All-Ivy team captain your senior year. Got into coaching soon after, like all goalkeepers seem to do. You learn with some great names. So I was going through your background. April Heinrichs, name I know, Tony DiCicco. I mean, they jumped right out at me. And you've been head coach at St. Louis for 12 years now. 13 or 12 years, Coach.
This is actually year 11, I believe. 11. I've been at St. Louis for 12. I was one year an assistant. So this is season 12 total for me.
Okay, great. And you're over a 700% winning percentage. Amazing. 3 years you're undefeated. Actually, 4 years now you're undefeated in the A10 at least. But 3 years in a row you're undefeated. 6 consecutive A10 Atlantic 10 tournament wins. Just an incredible record. One thing I wanted to start with is you were a coach, a Division I coach at a very young age. And one thing I've learned from interviewing so many coaches, they stay in the college jobs forever. I mean, it must be a great job because I've noticed folks stay in these jobs 20, 25 years. When you were 28, 29, I guess, when you were a head coach, that must have been very young for a Division I coach. Is that true?
Yeah, I had the opportunity, obviously, to become the head coach at a pretty young age, 28. However, I did start coaching in college immediately after graduating. So I did have at that point about 7 years, 6-7 years of experience already under my belt as being an assistant. But I'm grateful. It is very challenging. As you mentioned, a lot of coaches stay in the game, 20, 25 years. Dave Nolan's a great example of that. And so sometimes it's hard to get your first opportunity to be a head coach, and directors of athletics often like to hire people with head coaching experience. And so I feel very fortunate and just a tremendous sense of loyalty also to St. Louis for giving me that opportunity.
Well, they obviously they made the right decision. So when you're a coach at that age, and it seems like it would be a huge task to learn all the management skills, to coach, to manage other coaches, even assembling the staff, learning how to recruit, having the gravitas to talk to parents of the players to get them in, talking to parents of current players who might not be happy about playing time, all the things coaches have to do. Was it hard to learn all those steps? Was it a difficult transition from assistant coach to head coach?
Yeah, I don't think it's irregardless of age. It's a big jump. I made a lot of mistakes. I like to say I made a lot of new mistakes, though. I didn't repeat the same. I also, as you referenced at the very beginning, I had the opportunity to learn with some real legends almost of the women's game very early on in my coaching career. April Heinrichs being my very first boss in college. It's ironic. The other assistant who was at Irvine with me is Scott Juniper, and he's got his anteaters. They upset UCLA in the first round at Irvine. They just beat Gonzaga. So the two of us, her little Irvine coaching tree is alive and well in this year's tournament. So having that opportunity, and then I very blessed to have spent a lot of years learning with Tony DiCicco, just one of the great managers and kind of masters of personnel management in my mind. So those experiences, I think, positioned me to have, to figure it out. And then I also had great internal support from my administration at St. Louis that really had my back and supported me in some of those early years, both from assembling staffs to, managing a team. So I'm a learner. I had to learn quick, but, again, I think regardless of age, it's just, it always is going to be a jump.
Yeah. Well, did you have strong opinions of playing style when you became head coach, and has that style changed over the years? Yeah, you guys are you guys score a lot of goals, and that might just be a function of the personnel that you have. But we always going to be like this offensive style where you have a kind of free flowing where lots of attacking options. So talk a little bit about your style.
Yeah, I like to win. I think that's like, if anybody knows me well, they would probably tell you I'm one of the most competitive people they know. And so necessity, to be honest, like finding ways to win when you don't maybe have that blue blood logo on your chest in the recruiting game. You had to find maybe some different ways to make your mark. I want my team to play as I would want, like I was a risk-taking goalkeeper, even though that's like an oxymoron in some ways. Like, I like my, to be brave and to take chances. And there's nothing safe about that element of my personality when I play games. So, I knew I wanted to be fast. I think speed is just, it can change a game in an instant. And if you look at our front three and then one of our women we bring off the bench, I mean, they can run with anybody in the country. And so that, I think, puts other teams on their heels. But then for us, as we've really evolved our game model and our identity, we want it to be very sharp and clear for our women so they know what's expected. But at the end of the day, like, everyone we bring into our program, they have a special quality. They may not be, all around, fantastic in all the areas of the game, but they push the margins at least in one. And so I think that's what we've built our team. And then in given days, that special will shine. And so the other thing, I got to give a ton of credit, our associate head coach, Chris Allen, he's been with me for about 9 years now. And he's very much the yin to my yang. Like, we are very different personalities. And he specializes in areas of the game that aren't necessarily my strengths. And so one area we've been absolutely dominant in set pieces over the years, defensively and attacking. And that is 100% his fingerprints, his ownership, every piece from design to execution. And so to find great people that help you build a championship team, I think has been an important piece of the recipe as well.
It's always seemed to be a feature of women's collegiate soccer is strong assistants. Sometimes it's almost like they have two coaches. They'll have even a man and wife coaching teams. I've noticed that in the women's game a lot that I haven't really seen in other places. So I guess you truly can't do it alone. I did want to ask you about goalies. Like you and Coach Nolan went head to head on the round of 32 to get to this point. Are goalies overrepresented in the coaching ranks? It seems like they are. Maybe all those years of sitting back there and having to be patient, waiting for the ball to come.
Opinions back there.
Yeah.
We're definitely overrepresented. I think a piece of it too, though, if you look at the landscape just in the college game, most staffs have a designated goalkeeper coach. And so we just added in the NCAA rules another assistant. So now you can have 3 full-time assistants, but prior to that, it was 2 up until this year. And so if you look at it, almost half collegiate assistant position jobs were designated for goalkeeper coaches. So it's like a foot in the door for a lot of us goalkeepers that maybe you wouldn't have had that same opportunity, if you didn't have the goalkeeper specialization. So then it helps. There's a market for us, right? And so then you get your foot in, you get some experience, you gain traction, and hopefully you keep working your way up the ladder. So I do think there's a personality trait too, but I also just think there's been opportunity for former goalkeepers to get their foot in the door with that specialization and then grow from there.
Yeah, that's a great point, because they actually have, they have a leg up to get in the game because they've got kind of a place reserved for. Probably it's going to be hard to be a really good goalkeeper coach if you weren't a goalkeeper yourself. Well, let's talk a little bit about first of all, your team. Now, one thing that jumps out at you when you look at your roster is that almost your whole team is from the Midwest. And, when you look at college rosters these days, like I went to watch the Old Dominion Georgetown game. Old Dominion had 5 or 6 girls from Europe. It seems the school's located in Virginia Beach, or Norfolk. But St. Louis is a Midwestern team. I don't believe you have any women from overseas on the roster. Is that a cultural thing? Does that help you build culture, or is it just it's easier to recruit folks that are closer to St. Louis?
Yeah, I think every school has its niche, right? Every school has a kind of identity, and maybe even dependent on the coach. If you have international ties, you maybe go international. If you're a place like Georgetown, who has a very national brand, you pull from all over. For us, and when we got the job at SLU, we knew we needed to turn the tide. And St. Louis, as a city, for its population, has a tremendous talent level. The GA national champions of this past year of one of the high school age groups comes from St. Louis, and the ECNL national championships of the year above come from St. Louis. And so the youth game is so strong. But when I first got to St. Louis, those women or young women were not coming to play their college soccer at SLU. So we wanted to build a place that it was the best of St. Louis wanted to come play for us and really make it a destination. And our starting midfield three, they have played, some of those three have played together on and off since they were about 9 years old.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so when you look at, we thought last night, that 8 of our 11 starters from the St. Louis area with some sprinkles in between, that just that chemistry and that culture might be the difference. And I just think there's a level of pride our women have in playing for the city. And we are really the main women's sport in the city of St. Louis. There's no professional, women's sport. There's no pro team. And so we're able to draw amongst the best in the country attendance wise and provide an unbelievable platform for our women to shine, which then you get young girls in the stands, and that kind of becomes their dream. And so it's a really, I think we have a really unique market. And it's taken time to recruit the best, the best St. Louisans, the best Midwesterns, but that was always kind of the vision and the dream.
Yeah. Well, Georgetown makes a really good use of graduate students and graduate student transfers. They have a very experienced team that you guys just beat yesterday. What is your philosophy on using the transfer portal, and does it hurt your ability to give young players an opportunity to grow?
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a unique era just with the COVID eligibility and its final one more season of it. We have women that have been in our program for 5-6 years now. And I think that experience has led to a lot of our success. But for us, the transfer portal, we've been very particular about, who we bring in. We're not, we don't we don't collect as many, but we do have a number of transfers now. Most of them were women that we recruited on the front end, and they maybe chose to go away, and now they've come back home to us. And we've kind of specialized in that market, and it's obviously paid really well. But I think we do have young players who are contributing. We do have younger players that are making an impact. And, but one thing that is so valuable is that experience. And we've just been fortunate to have this generation of players that they don't go seek something else, maybe in a grad year. They choose to come keep building and making history with us. So it's been a positive in a lot of ways to have this extra eligibility and also be able to get some transfers out of it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk quickly about the Atlantic 10. Now, you guys have been completely dominant the last several years, and like Georgetown's dominance in the Big East. Totally. Now, what kind of transition is it when you go into NCAAs and you play against teams like from the SEC or the Pac-10 or Pac-2, whatever? I don't know how many are left, but they play top teams more often, whereas you in Georgetown are probably going to win your league and your postseason tournament every year. And so you're going to finally get really, really tested in the postseason, even though I know you had some big wins this year during the season. But anyway, is it harder to get ready for postseason when you're dominant in your conference like that?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think one thing we were very, very intentional, again, Chris on our associate head coach and I, about our schedule in the non-conference. We opened up the season at BYU. They're 1 seed. They're in the round of 16. We lost 3-2 with chances at the end. And so then we went and we hosted Xavier. That's one of our 2 losses, our other loss. But they're NCAA team consistently, obviously. And then we went on the road to Brown, played at Brown, got a tie out of that, and then to go on the road and and beat Nebraska in that final kind of non-conference tune-up. They were Big Ten co-champs. They're also in the round of 16. We knew what we had. Like, we were battle tested. And I think, but also then going into the A10, we get everyone's just like Georgetown, we get everyone's best shot. We get everyone's game. We get everyone's, kind of World Cup final. And so I think for our women to be consistent and dominant, there's a level of confidence. There's also a level of developing our depth. In some of those games, we're able to score a lot of goals and score in different ways. We can, roll out different set pieces. And so I think that, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's maybe something that's challenged our program in the past of having to really quickly ramp up for the NCAA tournament. But this year's team, again, their experience, the tests they went through in August and September, they were very much ready for Indiana in the first round. And I think obviously our quality showed.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that team. Now, one thing that really jumps out at you is the number of goals that your players score, and also the number of options you had. Emily Gaby, 19 goals. 15 goals, 9 assists, 2 big assists against Georgetown junior. Caroline Kelly, 12 goals, 5 assists, senior. Hannah Sawyer got the second goal against Georgetown, 10 goals and an assist. And she comes off the bench, I believe, mostly. Hannah Larson, 5 goals, 9 assists. Also, she got the opener the other day. And then some of your other key players, and Lindsay Heckel, Sophia Stram, and then your goalie is only given up 11 goals this year. She must have a good goalkeeper coach. Emily Puricelli, I believe I said that right.
Puricelli, yeah.
Oh, yes. So let's talk about the team a little bit and your options. Like Emily Gaby didn't even start every game. She started 9 games. Hannah doesn't start every game. You have a lot of different looks you can give other teams.
Yeah, I will say the season, or maybe the potential the team changed when we starting Emily Gaby. It took us to a new space, and we've always prided ourselves not to focus on who starts, who comes off the bench, but just the quality and the depth for 90 minutes. But Emily Gaby has really come into her own this season. She was the conference rookie of the year as a freshman, so it's not all this total 180, but she's grown. She's as fit as she's ever been. And I think you saw it on display last night. I mean, Georgetown has one of the best center back pairings in the country in those two. And Emily ran by them like, they were high school women. I hate to say it. And so she just is something. I mean, she's one of a kind. Like, to me, she's like a single career player. I don't know if you see another one of her. And so what she can do, but then if all you do is focus on her, which, I think last night Georgetown kind of said, let's make somebody other than her beat us. And she's also turned into an amazing facilitator. And Hannah Larson, Emily Gaby, again, she's kind of a unique one-of-one player, but Hannah Larson, she doesn't always show up in the stat sheets, but she's been, I think, our most impactful player in the postseason. She sets our fitness standard in preseason. She's our, one of our team leaders. She's just, she loves the game. She's not afraid to dream big. She was a player who, in a recruiting process, talked about coming to do some of these things that even we were like, we'll see, and so she's pretty special, just a player, human. And so, to have her, and then Caroline is probably the most competitive of our women on the field, and just finds ways to score goals, does a lot of dirty work. And then Hannah Sawyer is the fastest player I've ever coached. She clocks in right around 20 miles per hour. And just, after you've thrown those others at a team and wear them down, and then she comes off the bench like a jet. You saw it last night. I think Georgetown thought they had her, and she just got a little bit of room. And she's grown tremendously in her time with us. So we want to be a triple threat. We want to be able to go through you, around you, over you. And again, you have to prepare for all of them. You can't just prepare. And if you stop those guys, then you got to deal with like you mentioned, Lindsay and Sophia and Abby, the set pieces. And so that's, again, we wanted to build a truly balanced team that can make postseason runs like this. And our women, they continue to show up and perform.
Yeah. Well, it's a great team, coach. So, how did you feel about the weather yesterday? Now, I mean, I know it's never going to be comfortable, but it can actually help a team or the other team, depending upon style of play. So, what was your frame of mind when you saw the weather was going to be terrible?
Well, I didn't even look at it. I'm not kidding you. Like I didn't look at it. People were talking about it raining and all that around me, but I will say, like in 2018, we played in Kansas in the first round, and it was about 9 degrees at Kansas,
Wow.
and that was bone chilling. So if we're above freezing this time of the year, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
But the first half was clear and nice. The 50s. I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing. In this part of the country in November. But then as we were coming out of the tunnel at halftime, I mean, it was just downpouring. And so I just turned around to the team and I grabbed him and I was like, hey, I think Chris, our associate head coach, told me, he's like, hey, culture loves this weather. Like culture, this is us. This is go diving headers, which is what we score on. Sliding tackles, we had 13 yesterday, and it's just to embrace that. I mean, we're Midwestern. We don't have an indoor training facility in the winter, so like a lot of these places train on indoor football turfs. Power 4 or 5, whatever you want to call them. We don't have that. So our women, they train in this, they play in this, and worse. So our message is just embrace it and have fun.
Yeah. Well, as a coach in knockout with a high flying team like you have, were you concerned? I mean, obviously it's a tie game and it's, one mistake and you're down, but did you change your frame of mind at all at halftime? Were you very confident that you'd get your opportunities?
I'll be honest, we were a little not nervous. We've been having very fast starts in games since we started Emily Gaby in the first 11, and not getting on the board in the first half for us as a coaching staff was a metric we were hoping to be up a goal at half. Obviously who wouldn't want to be, but we also knew that Georgetown grows into games and they seem to get better as the game grows. They're just very methodical. And Dave is very, he makes good changes. And so that was not of concern, but it was, it was I'm sure it was in all of our minds as we went into halftime. But for us in halftime, we don't feel like we were necessarily our best selves in the first half. Again, you're at a neutral site. It's an afternoon. There's like 150 people there. It's just, it loses some of the environment that our women have been playing in the recent games, especially at home. And so we challenged them, and I think there were nerves too, right? Like they knew what was on the line. And so we challenged them at halftime. Like, we've been talking about this breaking through this glass ceiling. We've been talking about a Sweet 16 we're going on 4 years here, and how much we've talked about it and dreamed of it and worked for it. And like, it's in your grasp, but it's going to take a bit more. And so, then to come out of the half and within the first minute score, it's kind of the dream response for us out of halftime. But then you're still nervous because Georgetown, you saw what they did to Old Dominion, how they grow into games. So to get the second goal, obviously how the game ended, like that was magnificent. I'm a little salty. I wish Gaby would have finished. She got in and she had a chance to put us up 3-0. But again, to get up to 2-0 against a team like Georgetown was huge.
Yeah. I am glad that Julia Lees, who's been amazing, was able to go out with a goal, go out with her head up high. She's had such a great career. But let's talk about those two goals. The first goal, I mean, it was quick after halftime, but it came out of almost nowhere, in that it was a cross right into no man's land. And the goalie had a tough decision to make because she had to come out and kind of get the ball, but it was far enough away from the goal where if she didn't get it, she was in trouble. So maybe talk about that first goal.
Yeah, it was. I think it came out of a throw-in. Caroline Kelly did a good job getting into Emily Gaby, and Gaby does what she does. I mean, she kind of 2v1, split two defenders, got a little window. And we had thought that might be a way we could score off service once we could pull center backs out to address the ball, which is exactly what Gaby did. And then Hannah Larson, we've talked about that weak side forward getting to the near post in those situations. And it was just a hard, courageous run. She was marked. I mean, it wasn't like Georgetown was snoozing. It was just a special, and that's what we thought it was going to take, a special play. They weren't going to give you anything. And yeah, Hannah just brave, right place, right time, great delivery. But it was going to take something again like that. It wasn't going to be an easy goal to score.
Yeah. Quickly, the second goal, you talked about the speed of Hannah Sawyer, and it was on full display because it didn't look like it was a play that goal was going to come out of. It was in midfield. I think you intercepted or something. And next thing you know, she was through on goal with a perfect finish into the upright or whatever you call it in soccer. But anyway,
Yeah.
it was a shot.
It was. And Gaby, again, kind of she gets so much attention for being the goal scorer, but she was the playmaker in this moment. It was out of just a goal kick, a 50-50. It bounced into Emily, and I love that she knows what Hannah Sawyer's special is, to play her behind the line and not in front of the line, and to slip her in. And then, pleased with Hannah Sawyer to put that on, just on frame, make the keeper. That was one of our big emphasis, is we want to put 50% of our chances on the goal against Georgetown. And so for Hannah, just hit it hard on frame. This again, to go up 2-0 then gives you a little bit of breathing room, because you knew that Georgetown was going to come for us at some point, and they sure did.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Coach, this has been great. It's so nice to meet you. Last question. Penn State. Now the home team did win. I believe they beat Santa Clara, and so you are going to play in front of an atmosphere. They're going to have some people at the game. Would you rather play in that atmosphere at Penn State, or would you rather play a neutral game where you're not going to have a big crowd? And also, what are the keys to victory tomorrow?
I'd rather be at home for our crowd, but that's not on the table. No, I think it'll be an awesome atmosphere for college soccer. Jeffrey Field is kind of an iconic place. Penn State draws really well, so I think we're in for definitely a different environment than we had yesterday. Listen, they're a phenomenal team. They're a 2 seed for a reason. They are dynamic. They have interchange. It's a very different matchup than Georgetown. Georgetown has a lot of kind of individual special. Penn State has a lot of fluidity. It's also going to we never in women's college soccer play Friday, Sunday until you get to this weekend, which is just there's a case for change here, because we usually get an extra day, a Thursday, Sunday. And so, the way we play legs wise, we're going to have a challenge ahead of us, just in how we run and fly to reload our legs today to do it tomorrow. But ton of respect for Erica Dombeck and her staff. She also recruited me back in the day, so this has been an ironic weekend for me in that way. But I'm looking forward to again having an opportunity to perform with our women, and we got to take away some of their dynamic possession and fluidity. Their front two are really, really quality together, but I like our chances to get one and getting behind them a few times.
Yeah, well, look, Coach, best of luck. The game's at noon on Sunday. I believe it's ESPN Plus.
It's 1 Eastern, noon Central.
Okay, that's right. Okay, yep. And I'll make sure I put that in the comment section. But Coach, look, I really appreciate you taking the time talking to your fascinating views on the game. A wonderful team. So people who haven't seen St. Louis play, they beat my favorite team. But I do wish you well, and hopefully you guys will can keep the season going.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julian. Appreciate you covering it.
Of course. Thanks, Coach. Nice to meet you.